What's up, guys? Four-wheeler Doctor back again today, working on another 2021 520 Rubicon. Had a few of these 2021s come in the last little bit and getting all kind of stuff done to them. This one here, today we're going to be working on a little 2-inch bolt-on lift kit. This is a independent rear suspension bike naturally. Actually, this is the DCT model with the dual clutch transmission in it, and we're gonna see if we can throw this lift on here real quick. Got a bunch of other stuff to put on the thing too. It's getting a radiator relocate and a snorkel. So I've already done a relocate video. This is a Highlifter kit here, so the other one was a little bit different, but pretty much the same, so I won't do another video on it. But I may do one on the snorkel, because I don't know if many people have snorkeled these new ones, although they're not very different than the old ones. But this is what you get in the kit. This is a little bit different bracket. The old kits used to extend the shock on the bottom end. These new ones here do it on the top end. Real simple to put on and to manufacture here. There's not much to this thing. And this is what you get in the kit. This is the front brackets, the rear brackets, and bag of bolts. Also comes with this little nameplate to bolt to the back rack, and some tools you'll need. It's a pretty simple kit. You could actually do it with just a couple 14mm wrenches, maybe a hammer to tap the bolts in or out, air ratchet. I'm going to use it just because it makes it quicker, and then a screwdriver to try to get your bolt holes lined up once you get it all put back in there. So guys, one other thing I didn't cover in the tools section is this does need 17mm wrenches and sockets to get this new hardware on and off. They're 17mm nuts and bolts that come with it. So grab you a 17mm wrench or a socket, and that's what you're tightening stuff up with. We're gonna get started on this thing. I got a bunch of stuff going on today. Got one on the way over here now, so I'm gonna try to get all I can do done on it first, and then we'll probably have to cut the camera off and come back some other time. But I'm gonna try to do this without even taking the tires off. You're gonna, like I said, you're working with the top end. You have to jack it up. That's pretty much it. So I'm gonna get the thing jacked up, and first thing we'll be doing is taking out these top shock bolts here. Let's say 14mm on both sides, and we'll slide the brackets in there. So let me get those out, and I'll cut the camera back on right before I slide the brackets in. Guys, I always seem to forget to do this, but we're going to measure this thing beforehand to see what kind of lift we actually get out of it. This is quoted as a 2-inch. Normally Highlifter is usually pretty true to their measurements, but we'll just see. I always seem to forget to do this. We're going to measure it from the floor here to the, let's go to the top of the front of the top, or the front of the top rack. Front of the front rack. We're about 38 7/8 or so to the top of that. So, and measure the back end just as it sits, and it measures about 39 1/2. My camera is not the best in the world, especially on fine print. So there you go, 39 1/2. Alright, hopefully I'll remember to measure that when we get everything put on there and see what we actually get. Alright guys, we got the shocks unbolted from both sides. Next thing we're going to slide in is this bracket here. It's got the notch in the top of it. The notch goes up naturally, so it slides in this case it rides right over the radiator hose and right behind a brake line that's attached to the frame in there, and that notch in there is actually to allow for that brake line clip to remain in place. So just keep pushing it until it gets past the brake line. I think I got it a little too far. Slide it back a little bit till you're close to having your bolt hole here lined up. And then what you want to stick through there is your medium size spacer. This one actually has a, God bless, I'm gonna knock the camera around. Medium size spacer. It's got a G stamped on it. It goes where your factory shock used to go. So take you a bolt that comes with the kit, start it through here. I'm having all sorts of issues today with cameras and lights. And okay, so got my light set up there. Slide this bolt through here. You're gonna have to kind of wiggle it around to get it through your hole there. Kind of tough for me. There we go. So got it slid through the hole there. Then you slide your spacer in the gap where the old shock used to go. That's pretty tight tolerance on there, so you got to get it just right to get slid through there. Push the bolt on through, and then you. All right, next thing to go on will be this bracket here, and it goes on like this, and slide it up over your bolt that you just stuck in. Put your lock nut on there, and then we'll need to stick a bolt through the shock mount, and it says to stick a washer on each side of that shock mount after you stick this bolt through the bracket. That takes up a little, actually takes up the extra space from the mount, the factory mount. So slide that through your shock, just like that. Another washer on the back side. Then go through your bracket. There's not but about 12 things that have to line up here. And then stick you a nut on there, and that's what your final product's going to look like. Hold on, let me zoom out on this camera a little bit. Goodness gracious, that's as far as it'll zoom out. Okay, so that's what your final product looked like. You got your new bolt here that came with the kit, this front bracket, another bolt here, the G spacer in between where your factory shock used to bolt up. You got a washer on this side of your factory shock, washer on this side, and 2 lock nuts with this other bracket on the back side. Do the exact same thing for the other side. Tighten up all your bolts, and you're done with the front. This is, like I said, this is a pretty simple kit, and it actually works pretty good. So let me go ahead and jump to the other side and get those thrown on. I'll get them tightened up, and then we'll jump to the back. Alright guys, back here on the back. Let's see if we can get this thrown on pretty quick. Start off with taking these 14mm factory bolts out the top here. I'll see if I can do this real quick while y'all watch, because this front one didn't take me no time at all, so hopefully the back will be the same way. My head might be in the camera, but I apologize if it is. Alright, so I got those nuts off. You have to lift up on the tire a little bit a lot of times just to get this bolt out, just like that. Same thing on this side. And the kit comes with new bolts, so you don't have to reuse these things. Probably, well, I don't think they're long enough in the back here, but wouldn't hurt to hang on to them just in case you want to put it back factory. But most folks I know put these lifts on them, never take them back off. Alright, so got the bolts out. Now you need your 2 brackets here. These things slide in. We'll do the one toward the rear of the bike first. Slide in just like that. The notches go around the frame, and then you can stick these bolts in. The longer bolts go on the rear, and they have to be spaced out with some washers in order to make them fit up on the frame right. So these bolts that go through where your factory bolt used to go, they will go through the bracket, and then you'll put 2 washers on it before they actually go through the frame there. you got to get the 2 washers that have the right size hole in the center of them, because there's some washers in here that don't have the right size. So that's what I just tried to stick in there. Alright, you spin this thing around here so you can halfway see what we're doing. And I'm going to cut this airline off. Alright, so we've got the bolt through there with the 2 washers already started through the hole, and then you're going to use this spacer here. It's got a 4Y on it to go where the factory bolt used to go. I'm going to have to pry down on this thing because the shock will not come out of there right now. So let me see if I can push down on it to get it to pop out. It ain't coming real easy. Like my dad used to say, don't force it, get a bigger hammer. So we're going to do that. Actually, we're just going to use a screwdriver. I'm going to see if I can stick it in here and pry it out. You need to get it outside of this bracket here, the factory shock mount. It's not wanting to come out of there. We got to get it out here to the outside is where our final resting place of the shock is going to be. Let me see if I can pry down on it with this screwdriver. Pry it down and out. It's so close from coming out. Just like that. Snaps right out of there, you know, nothing to it. Okay, so stick our bolt back through here with our 2 washers on the back side. One of them done fell off, so I'm going to have to find that in a minute. Get our 4Y spacer. It slides up in there where the factory shock used to go. Just like that. Stick your bolt on through. And then on the back side of that bolt as well, you got to get 2 more. I'm going to end up having to find some washers out of the washer bin because I'm going to be lost them. 2 more washers go on the back side of that bolt. And then your bracket needs to go back behind there. So you can go ahead and slide the other bracket through now that we've got this one halfway rigged up. Goes in the exact same way. Fits down over the frame. And stick a nut on there just to hold it all together. Alright, so now out here where the shock actually is going to bolt up, what you have to do there is there's a few more little spacers that you have to put in. You put the bolt through there just like you did on the other bolt, and one of these small spacers, stick it in there like that, stick it through the shock like that, and then another small spacer on the back side of it. Get it spun around there correctly, it'll go in, and then stick the bolt through that outer hole on the bracket. I'm actually going to have to lift up on the tire a little bit to get it in there. It's drooped down too far right now. So, whoa, hang on with me. Lift up on it just a little bit as I push in on the bolt. And if all the stars line up, it'll go in there just like that. So stick your nut on the back side, and you're halfway done with this rear. So jump to the other side, do the exact same thing. See how it's halfway set up over here, 2 plates in there. They need to be pushed down a little bit, but I have to pry that shock out of there as well. But let me get that bolted up, tightened up. I'll set it down on the ground and show you what the next step is. Alright guys, so this is what the final product looks like. You got your 2 spacers here, lock nut on the back, 2 washers in front of the bracket there, 2 washers in front of the bracket on the back side, and that little collar in there where your factory bolt used to go. Just tighten those down good and tight. Those lock nuts will keep them cinched down on there pretty good. Last remaining thing to do is just a little splash of advertisement for Highlifter. They want you to put this little tag on here, and it's not very hard at all. Pretty much just goes on. Used to you bolt these through the frame, but on these new bikes they just actually go around with a U-bolt. So I'm gonna get this thing bolted up on here. This one's could be a little bit easier with if the bag wasn't on there, but we're gonna make do with what we got. So we'll sit these two U-bolts in there, tighten that up, and that'll be it for your lift install. I will cut the camera back on in just a sec. I grabbed the tape measure, and we'll take some final measurements on these things just to let you know what the overall actual lift is. So I'll cut the camera back on in a sec. Alright guys, there's the final product. You can tell it's jacked up a little higher. I did bounce on a little bit and make sure it's pushed down some. It will settle just a little bit once all the bushings and everything get where they need to be. So we're going to remeasure this thing and see how much lift we actually got. The front end up here, when we measured it, we got 38 7/8 of an inch. That was here to the rack, and now we're at dead on 40 inches. So it wasn't quite 2 inches out of that. So 38 7/8. So that's an inch and an eighth is all it got in the front. And then the rear is up there about 40 and a half. And we had 39 and a half. So really only got an inch out of the back. So there you go. That's what they measure. Y'all check out my other videos. Have a good day.